Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Conversations with Christal. Today, you are in for a treat. I have the first special guest of the series that I'm going to be doing of women in real estate. And so, with me here today, I have Heather Mongie. Say hey, Heather.
Hi.
So, Heather is a classically trained pianist, an outdoor enthusiast, and an advocate for women's self defense. She enjoys meeting people, eating great food, which I can attest to, and replicating it in the kitchen. She's the oldest of seven children, which comes with lots of skills like staying hyper focused, even with lots of distractions and chaos around her. Heather is a member of the Washington County Board of Realtors and Las Vegas Board of Realtors. She has served on the Education Committee, Grievance Committee, and the Professional Standards Committee, and she's chaired the Green Committee. She's a member of the National Association of Realtors, and she's a member of the Women's Council of Realtors. She has served the community through various outreach initiatives and also served as a Native American archaeological site steward. Tell me what that is briefly.
Well, I got to sign a piece of paper that swore me to secrecy on where this location was. It's in a really remote part of northern Clark County, and it's actually in a really highly preserved site. But we were assigned a particular part of this canyon to preserve and protect to make sure that it's not being potted, defaced. It was just a treasure trove of, it's such a beautiful area and it's a treasure trove of Native American artifacts. So my dad and I did that. We signed up on Earth Day Festival in Summerlin and have been doing that for like 5 years. It was really amazing.
Yeah, that sounds so up your alley. I love that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's not keep the listeners waiting. Let's start off our conversation with you sharing with us a little bit about like how did you get into real estate? Tell us what that journey looked like.
Well, I had recently gotten divorced and I have a secondary education degree. So I had little kids at home and I knew I needed to make money. So I went into teaching and I ended up as a kindergarten teacher, which was not my dream job. It was at a private
Mhm.
school. My kids were there with me and I made several kids burst into tears randomly. I think it was because of my directness and speech. My
That also
co-teacher
doesn't
would
surprise
just
me.
die laughing in the back. I was like, well, I just don't think this is the best career for me.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
So my brother, I had a summer break and my brother's like, Heather, you should get into real estate. You'd be amazing at it. You should look into it. And at this time, literally, I could not even make enough money to pay for my rent.
Mhm.
And I was really making 2,000 a month. And I was extremely dependent on my ex-husband. And I did not like that. So I wanted to be financially independent. So I was at this crossroad. I was like, go into real estate or become an attorney. And I looked at going to law school and all of the education fees. And I was like, no, thank you. And
Yeah,
I went to real estate school for 2 weeks and got licensed,
I
passed the
love
test the
it.
first time and took off.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so what happened? Did you flounder a little bit after you were licensed, or did you just kind of hit the ground
No.
running? Were you looking to connect with the brokers? Like, what did that look like?
So once I passed the test, I started, well, even before then, I started interviewing brokers because I wanted to
Mhm.
see who would support me, give me the education, and teach me everything I needed to know so that I could just be extremely successful in real estate. I was really lucky to end up with the broker that I did. I even asked tons of agents and couldn't get my business cards fast enough. Dived into serving through the local board and really just hustled, door knocked. I was door knocking in a guard gated community and I got kicked out.
Once again, does not surprise me.
And then I had to get back into the guard gated community to show a house, but I was banned from the community. So I bribed the guard gate with Starbucks. I asked her, what do you want? I need to get in tomorrow. And she told me, and she
Oh
got
my
me in.
gosh, I love this.
Yeah, it was fun. Good times.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Okay, so let's fast forward to current day. What does it look like? What does your business look like now at the scale that you run it? Because you've been doing this for a while now.
10 years.
Mhm.
Within 2 years of being a realtor, I started a team. And then within 6 years of being a realtor, I got licensed in Utah and started a team in Southern Utah also. And
Mhm.
then started transitioning, moving here. And it
Mhm.
wasn't honestly part of my grand design and plan, to be real with you.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't even care if I had a team. I was just really loving doing what I was doing, but I just have been in a daily practice where I spend time getting in touch with my heart center, with my divine self, with the divinity,
Yeah.
and just finding that moment of silence. So I would
Mhm.
sit in silence, drink my coffee and tea,
Mhm.
read, write in my journal, or just sit there and ponder or meditate. And I got
Mhm.
so much spiritual guidance, little breadcrumbs, I like to call it, to start a
Yeah.
team, which I did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then even to get licensed in Utah and then to start a team here and then move here.
Yeah.
So I'm at a point now in my life where I've decided I want to get into commercial. I've done residential for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I took a sabbatical for about a year and a half. I really
Mhm.
hit a huge peak in my life where I was so busy. I mean, I always carved out at least an hour every morning, but then I would
Yeah.
dive right into work and then I wouldn't
Mhm.
get home until 7 or 8. And then
Mhm.
even then I would still work. And I mean, I made top 1% in sales of several quarters in Las Vegas
Mhm.
out of 20,000 agents. But
Yeah.
my lifestyle is dramatically different now. I
Mm.
have, I probably spend a good 2 to 3 hours every morning,
Mhm.
um, just spending time with um, myself
Yeah.
and meditating and
Mhm.
journaling and reading inspiring things and doing that stuff to really ground me for the rest of the day.
Mm.
And I don't have a team of agents in Vegas or Southern Utah anymore. I
Okay.
dramatically downsized.
Mhm.
I'm actually home and I interact with my children more
Mhm. Yes.
and I see them
Yes.
and talk to them.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's been a really interesting journey. It's been beautiful. I've loved everyone that's come into my life through this career of
Yeah.
mine.
Oh my gosh. I love what you're saying there because what you did was with intention of creating that time where you just kind of took a step back because I know that you were working so hard, those years
Mhm.
prior to you taking this break. And so I would love for us to chat a little bit about like your relationships during that like that sabbatical. Like we hear you saying the relationship with yourself, right, improved,
Yes.
and with your kids. Like what else happened during that time, and did you find that that time helped you focus more on relationships? What was created? What Talk to us a little bit about that.
So I would like to say I've had amazing success with my romantic relationships, but I have not
It's
per se.
okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I have discovered so much about myself when I took my sabbatical.
Hmm.
And one of the things that I discovered is that I did not have a very clear idea or goal or well formed outcome on what I wanted in a relationship with a man.
Okay.
And I found that I really wanted to be seen and heard, and that when anyone showed me attention, I was like, oh, and
Mhm.
I have learned that that is not to my benefit at all.
Mm.
And so I am completely okay with being single and
Mhm.
um because if it is the state of well-being that I'm in right now, I mean, if I can find a
Mhm.
relationship like that, that would be fabulous, but I've
Yeah.
determined very high standards regarding that. I
Yes.
think I realized I had a problem when I broke up with one of my boyfriends and I went to my office at like 10 o'clock at night and opened up my computer and found complete peace and solace. I was like,
Mhm.
I feel good now. And I was like,
Mm.
oh boy, there's a
Mm.
problem here.
Yeah.
And I realized that there was a lot of balance that I needed to start to work on.
I love that so much. And I think just hearing you say the work that you've done, like in spending time with yourself and getting to know more about what is it that Heather wants. I love that you started there. And I think that's what help you be so aware of like some of the things that you thought you wanted, but in turn, they may look a little different. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So as we think about like the and look, I hear you saying that you're not at the crazy fast pace that you were before in your real estate business, but with it being such a 24/7 type business and industry, do you think that's hard on relationships? Like what have maybe you seen with like your colleagues or that type of thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, my thoughts are that you should not be a slave to your phone, and you
Mm,
should set some very clear boundaries with your clients
yeah.
and with yourself on what you will allow with communication and how often.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I really discovered quickly in my real estate career that I needed to be very clear with my clients
Yeah.
on that form of communication and how I would communicate with them and the frequency of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in real estate, everyone thinks everything's an emergency. And to be honest with you,
Right.
nothing's really, I think only 1% of everything that someone says it's an emergency is really an emergency.
Yeah.
And if you get back to someone that day, great. You do not have
Mm-hmm.
to get back to them within 5 minutes. You don't have to get
Mm-hmm.
back to them in 30 minutes. So what I found was time blocking really helped, like setting aside times to only check your emails like in the beginning of the day or at the end of the day. I mean, obviously if you have a day of closing, it's pretty
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
chaotic. You know
Yeah.
that, Christal. You have to be like
Yes.
glued to your phone or your computer, be like, did everything close? Did the
Right.
funds come in? Did they get the docs? All of
Uh-huh.
that. Because of last minute, those are last minute emergencies.
Right. Yes.
But most of the time it's not. And so I really, when I sat down and met with my clients, I'd be like, look, I don't work on Sunday. I work
Mm-hmm.
every day of the week, but not Sunday. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, totally cool. One time I had a client text me on Sunday and say, I'm just sending this to you because I don't want to forget, but don't reply to me today. Just get
Yeah.
back to me on Monday. And I was like, see, there we go.
I love that.
Yeah. And if I was spending time with my kids and someone
Mhm.
wanted to make an appointment at that time, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not available. And I did not have to explain
Yes.
anything. And
Yes.
I would just say, these are the times or day that I'm available and gave them options and
Mm,
they were cool with it. So
mhm.
just really setting those boundaries and structures. And when you're sitting at a dinner table with people or at a
Mhm.
restaurant or at
Mhm.
home, do not answer your phone.
Yeah.
Like the world is not going to start on fire. People can leave voice messages and texts and you
Mhm.
can get back to them, in a timely manner, but not while you're eating or spending time with people.
Yeah.
If you're in an
Mhm.
appointment, it's just don't be a slave to your phone and be
Yeah, I love
respectful to
that.
those who are in front of you.
Yes, yes. And I hear that as like such a healthy reminder for not only your romantic relationships, but like you're saying with your kids, with your friends, because I would guess, especially if you are a newer agent, that can especially be tempting, right? Because you're trying to grow your business. And I know this wisdom is coming from some, years behind you. But for those of you who are listening, remember, don't be glued to your phone. I love that so much. Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about because I know, were super active when you were primarily in Las Vegas, and you're active as well in Utah. You're members of, councils and boards and that type of thing. What, if anything, would you like to see like boards start providing realtors as like personal development resources, like ways to almost support them in like their personal lives? Because I know that there's like, continuing education for, of course, real estate specific information, but do you think that there could also be some room for personal development offerings and resources?
Honestly, I've never really thought about that, or
Mhm.
even I have not personally felt a need myself,
Mm.
but it's because
Mhm.
I've taken the time to do that for myself
Got it.
in the mornings. And
Yeah.
so support wise, I feel like the Las Vegas Realtor board there, they have so many tools and resources,
Yeah.
which makes me extremely grateful that I'm part of a large housing market like Las Vegas versus
Yes.
and coming to a smaller market because we have so many more tools and resources and so many things at our fingertips than we do here at Washington County Board of Realtors.
Mhm.
I find that it's really hard to get involved in a smaller market like Washington County Board of Realtors here in Southern Utah
Yeah.
because they're all extremely cliquish. So to join a committee is extremely hard. I have tried to get on certain committees and they're like, you have to talk to so-and-so, you have to do this, you have to know this person, and still I haven't joined a committee. So I felt like Las Vegas Realtor Association was way better. And
Mhm.
you know what's really fun, at least for me, is that they give awards and accolades.
Mhm.
And that's
Mhm.
huge in Las Vegas. I don't see that happening here in Southern Utah at all. But there are
Mhm.
20,000 agents in Vegas, and there's about, oh gosh, 1,900 here. And that
Okay.
peaked. When I first got licensed 4 years ago, there was 900.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Okay. Okay, let's kind of stay in that lane a little bit when you were mentioning some of the maybe dynamic of the realtors within the like industry and local counties. What are some of the maybe like lessons that you've learned about creating and keeping healthy relationships with both colleagues in the industry as well as like well, we talked a little bit more about like friendships and family, that type of thing. But what are just some lessons that you've learned?
From relationship with colleagues.
Yeah, and keeping them
Well,
healthy and yeah,
being
yes.
professional and kind in a real estate transaction.
Mhm.
Um, you see that ego comes into play quite a bit, and then the other
Mhm.
person has to act like they know everything or that they're right all the time or that their way has to be the right that way. And
Mhm.
and it's the way that they do it. I mean, sure, if you feel like that's your way is the right way, great. But it's the
Yeah.
delivery of it, right? And my favorite
Mhm.
phrase that I would always share with the agents on my team was real estate works when realtors work together. Because we
Yeah.
all have an end goal for successful closing a successful transaction, you know? We
Yes.
all, including your client, my client, all want the same objective. So why don't we work together and be kind to each other?
Mhm. Yeah. I
One
I
time
love
I had
that.
an Yeah, one time I had an agent on the phone and she had a horrible day and I had called her about something regarding a home inspection.
Mhm.
And she ended up just sharing with me voluntarily without me even asking. She was just like, "Oh my gosh, I had a bad day." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And then she just told me and I listened. And
Mhm.
honestly, I didn't have a whole lot of time. I'm not a phone person. I don't like to chit chat on the phone for long periods of time. I just want to get stuff done and move to the next thing, right? I know you're laughing because you know me so well.
Yes. I
So
can
I'm
I can
listening to
totally
her
see you.
and I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, I was compassionate. I was like, that sucks. I am
Yeah,
really
yeah.
sorry. That is crappy. Guess what?
Mhm.
She appreciated it so much that it was actually in my
Mm.
favor because I asked for some things for my clients that her sellers weren't very happy
Yeah,
about, but she pushed it and we created that relationship. And
yeah.
I have these relationships with agents now. When you end up in another transaction with them, it's like, hey, how's it going? Good to talk to you again. All right, let's get
Yes.
this going,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And it really benefits you in the long run. Like, don't
Mhm.
be a dick.
Yeah.
I just want to throw that D word out there.
I love that story though of you just kinda just shows it just shows that it doesn't take a lot, right? Sometimes it's not a big deal for us, but it means the world to someone else just for them to be heard for 3 minutes, right? And so,
Mhm.
yeah, that's the perfect story around that. Okay, so 2 more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up. When we look if we could look back like at the 30-year-old version of yourself, what would you tell yourself about the importance of relationships?
Oh gosh. Well, I would tell myself that things get way better,
Mm,
get clear. You understand human nature and people more. Um,
mhm,
and I would tell my 30-year-old self that you can't control how people respond or react, but you can control how you react and respond. And that
Yes.
brings great serenity and peace.
Yes, I love that so much. That's something that I talk about a lot to my audience is having like clarity over what you can truly control. And it's just exactly that. We can only control what our actions, our inactions, right? And so many times we want to, even if it's unintentional, want people to act a certain way so that way we can feel good or feel better or what have you. And it kind of, you know, gives us an escape for taking some responsibility for like our own emotions.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I love that you said that. Okay. This has been like so insightful and funny as I see yourself like in some of those stories that you were sharing, because like I said, I could totally see you in those scenarios. But just thank you for just having a candid conversation with me and sharing a little bit. Tell me a little bit about like how people can connect with you, or if they want to follow you on social media, like what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. My
Mhm.
profile set up for my other business that I do, which is um, working with business owners and entrepreneurs, and
Mhm.
in guiding them and coaching them, finding balance in their life and helping them move to the next level of what's next. So it's called the
Mhm.
Alchemy Guide.
Okay.
Real estate wise, you can connect with me on Facebook. You'll find my two Facebook real estate businesses in Las Vegas and Utah
Mhm.
on there. And then it's under Heather Mongie. And I'm publicly speaking. So if you want to hear me
Mm.
throw the dick word out there again, just kidding. Message me.
You guys are hilarious. You're so funny. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast, remember our visual version of the podcast is on YouTube. So just go to christalallen.com so that way you can see Heather's lovely face and her hand emotions. Well, Heather, thank you so much for this conversation. And for those of you listening, I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule every single week to tune in. And remember, you got this, you guys. Until next time, bye.